cannot see Hashgacha Pratis. You can't even see Yad Hashem. We're not talking about miracles now. We're talking even about Teva. But in Asiya, you can have a moon in the Eibishter. In Asiya, you can have Tmimos, you can have a sincerity. So Chassidus is saying, we're saying Miz Meshich Hanukas Abayis LaDavid, not to celebrate that we're going to a higher world, but we're celebrating how we serve Hashem in the lower world in which we find ourselves now. You see the difference? So Chassidus and Kabbalah are using the same model. They're both using Kabbalah. They're both using Shemus. The numbers are 91 or 92 or 96 or 97. This is mathematics. But the Nekuda is 96 is a Shem of Avodah Zarah, 91 is not a Shem of Avodah Zarah. The Mekubalim say reduce Miz Meshich Hanukas Abayis to 91 words because you're going away from Avodah Zarah. And Chassidus says, no, say 96 words because we're celebrating how you could serve Hashem even in an environment of Avodah Zarah. You should be so excited by what I'm saying. I'm sorry. This is very beautiful. Go ahead.
הסידור הזה שהאריזה בו, כאילו, המקובל הכי, כאילו, אז אם זה הנוסח כאילו שלו, אז איך כאילו...
אוקיי, שאלות כאלו לא עולים על השולחן, בגלל שאין להם סוף.
אוקיי.
אוקיי? Okay, so this is the last reason we say Miz Meshich Hanukas. I want to remind you what we're doing. Last week, which was the second week we're learning with Meshich Hanukas Abayis, I started giving you a list of reasons why we say this Peirik, right? Most of them are talking about Beis HaMikdash and Karbanes and Geula and Mashiach and other things, right? This last reason, which is the reason found in Sefer Kabbalah, is that we're saying Miz Meshich Hanukas Abayis as a transition from Asiyah to Yitzirah. You understand? And now in this last reason, you have 2 points of view. The way the Kabbalah looks at it, Kabbalah says reduce it to 91 words, 92 words maximum, because you don't want to say a shame, which means Avodah Zarah. That means Asiyah. You want to say a shame, which means Yitzirah. And yet, we say the first pasuk. So we're not doing what's written in Kabbalah. And there's excuses. I mean, I'm not telling you everything that's written in every sefer. There's all kinds of different ways of resolving this question of the 91 and the 96 or the 92 and the 97. Some people say you say it, but you don't mean it. There's a lot of excuses, but we're not going with excuses. You understand? What I'm doing is I'm establishing that in Kabbalah it says you really want this kapitel to have 91 words. However, it works out that way. The Hezbe Shevet David is the explanation of 91 words is because that's the name of Yetzirah, Havaya Adnai, where you could see the Eibishter in Teva. It's called Hashgacha Pratis. With the first pasuk, it's a Shem of Asiyah, Keil Adnai, which is Avodah Zarah. So the Kabbalah is saying, let's celebrate going away from a world where you're more prone to Avodah Zarah to a world where you're less prone to Avodah Zarah. And Chassidus is saying, no, celebrate how you serve Hashem, even in the world of Avodah Zarah. Okay, and in the words of the Rebbe, he would often say, by Fabrengenischen, Ukafi Sheyezbaya Lakam. And we're going to get back to this later on. Okay, now questions or comments? I'm warning you, if you have no questions and you have no comments, I'm going to keep talking. We're good? We're good, Kindalach? Yes? Next. Last week I gave you a class. And by the way, I'll probably change my mind next week, okay? But last week I gave you a class. In last week's class, I told you that the key to this kapitel is this pasuk here, Ki rega biyape. No, mistake. I'm sorry. That the most important pasuk is line 5. Vani amarti b'shalvi b'al emet leilam. Line 5. Vani amarti b'shalvi b'al emet leilam. You see it inside? I told you that the key to this kapitel is line 5. Vani amarti b'shalvi b'al emet leilam. Look at the English. In my security, I thought I shall never falter. In my security, I thought, I shall never falter. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means 2 things. Life is perfect, and I don't want it to ever change. I thought, Bishalvi, everything is good. Shalva, everything is wonderful, everything is sweet, everything is ta'am, it's all perfect. I don't want it to change. Right? Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I got an answer. Anybody else? If a person's attitude is, my life is perfect, I don't want it to ever change, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's bad. Anybody say good? Anybody? Okay, I'll say good, just for fun. There's two ways of explaining this pasuk. A person finds himself in a condition, my life is shalvo, harmony, peace, serenity, ta'am, with a tov, and I don't want it to change. There's two angles. The obvious angle is that it's klipa. The obvious angle is that it's bad. It's klipa. Okay. The pasuk which you have in Hasidus, and I may have mentioned it last week, but I'm mentioning it now again. In Chumash, you have a pasuk in Pashas Nitzavim, where a person is thinking about the idea of aligning himself with klipa. What's the difference between aligning yourself with Kedusha and aligning yourself with Klipa? If you align yourself with Klipa, you got to do nothing. It's free. Right? In Klipa, everything is free. It says in Zayah, so if a person wants to have an easy life, he aligns himself with Klipa. Klipa is free. And that's why you all said that sounds like a bad thing. The idea that a person says, I like the way my life is, I don't want to change it, that's a klipa concept. Just the way it is good. The Maimorim bring, it's written to Samaya. And I'm not going to explain all of it because I don't have time, but a Jew says, I'm going to disconnect from Hashem, I'm going to connect myself to klipa. If I'm connected to Hashem, I always have to work, and I always have to earn, I always have to be good, and I always have to do tshuva. I'm going to align myself with Klipa. Shalom Yili. I'll have a good life. I'll be free. I'll do whatever I want. And then you have four more words. L'man svais harava es hatzmeya. Rava means satisfied. Tzmeya means thirsty. So there's different pshatim in how this works, but in some places it's written, satisfied is Klipa, thirsty is Kedusha. Hey, Tzmeya. Rava, I'm happy, I like my life, I don't want to change, it's Klipa. And Tzmeya means thirsty, that's Kedusha. So when a person says, I like my life, I don't want it to change, that's Klipa. That's why all of you said correctly that a person says, Ani amati b'shalvi, I have a state of serenity, ba'alemet la'ilam, I never wanted to change, and it's never going to change, that's Klipa, right? And of course, the next pasuk says, that it just doesn't work. Hashem turns his face away, and all of a sudden my serenity is gone. So I'm going to agree with you that the more basic interpretation of these words, is an assertion of klipa. I live in a world where there's no expectation of me, there's no demand of me, I don't have to do anything. That's what klipa is, free, chinam. Right? Klipa gets for free. There's no responsibility, there's no accountability, I can do whatever I want. And I want my serenity to remain. So Vani Amarti, this thinking, Bishalvi, I have serenity, I don't want it to change, is a thinking of Klipa. And then the next pasuk, the Eibishter hides his face and we freak out and we panic and we do tshuva, right? That's a simple pshat. But there's another angle, okay? You remember Chumash? Yeah, you heard of Chumash. You heard of Chumash, yeah. Yeah, remember Chumash? Yeah. Chumash has a sefer called Bereishis. Bereishis has a pasha called Vayeshev. How does Vayeshev begin? Vayeshev Yainkev be'eretz megure Yovel be'eretz Canaan. Yainkev spends 22 years in Gehenna. First he's dealing with Lavan, then he's dealing with Esav. He comes home with a huge mishpacha. He has now, unfortunately, 3 wives, because Rachel died. He has 12 children, 12 sons and a daughter, and a huge Ashiras, great wealth. What does Rashi say, the first words in Rashi in Pashas Vayeshev? Do you remember? Bikish Yankev Leishev Bishalva. It's exactly the same word as Bishalvi. That's that Klipa or Kedusha. Bikish Yankev Leishev Bishalva. Do you remember now? There's the Kutasichas on it, yeah? Mrs. Spitzer taught you about that, yeah? Right? There's another kind of shalva where Yankov Avinu says, Ani amarti b'shalvi. That's kedusha. How does that work out? We all agreed that the idea of a person's life being peaceful and not wanting it to change is a concept of klipa. So why does Yankov Avinu say, Bikesh Yankov leisha b'shalva? What are the next words, by the way? Yankov wants to live in peace, and then all of a sudden he has new trouble. Yosef HaTzadik disappears, and he suffers for 22 more years. So how does the Rebbe explain it? The Rebbe says there's only one way that Kedusha is shalom. There's one condition, one circumstance where Kedusha is shalom. Shalom means it's good, and I don't want it to change. And that's Elam Haba. Tchias HaMesim is going to be shalom. It's going to stay the same, and it's going to be Kedusha. Okay, there's a Rambam, famous Rambam, in the Akdama Perichelik B'Shem Mishnayos, where the Rambam says the classic words, Ta'anug Tmidi Eino Ta'anug. That's Sephardi. Now I'll say it in Ashkenazit, right? Ta'anug Tmidi Eine Ta'anug. Constant pleasure is not pleasure. Harambam. Can I ask you a personal question? What's your favorite food? Mamish? People say sushi. If you had pizza for breakfast, lunch, and supper 7 days a week, what would you think of pizza? It would be revolting. It would become gi'ul, right? That's what the Rambam says. If you have the same pleasure always, it becomes disgusting. So the Rambam says, if you want to understand how much you cannot understand what Olam Haba is, imagine eating pizza every day, 3 times a day, and never getting bored. In Olam Hazeh, in our life, Tainuk Tmidi Eini Tainuk. In Olam Haba, Tainuk Tmimi is Tainuk. Now you don't understand it? That's exactly the reason that Rambam is saying it. The Rambam wants to impress on us how we are not able to understand the concept of Olam Haba. Because Olam Haba is shalva of Kedusha. We associate shalva, my life is good, I don't want it to change, with klipa. That's what it is today. A person is supposed to grow. A person is supposed to work, or to say it in different words, a person is supposed to earn what he has, not get it for free. You follow? But in Olam Haba, there's a good shalva, there's a shalva of Kedusha. In this life, tainuk tmidi eini tainuk, constant pleasure as a baby. In Olam Haba, you become one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have a constant pleasure being one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it never gets boring, right? And by the way, the Gemara says, Shleisha etiman HaKadosh Baruch Hu me'ein Elam Haba ba'elam hazeh. There were 3 tzaddikim who experienced Elam Haba in this life. Do you know their names? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Kamoish Abeirach. You say, you bench, when you eat bread, you bench. Kameir Abeirach, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Bakoil, Mikoil, Koil. Koil goes in Elam Haba. By Avraham Avinu it says Hashem Beirach as Avraham Bakoil. By Yitzchak it says Vayiten loy meiser Mikoil. And by Yaakov Avinu it says Ochi Yeshli Koil. Koil goes in Elam Haba. The 3 Aves experienced Elam Haba and Elam Hazeh. You know what's explained in Kabbalah? You know what's explained in Kabbalah? What it means that the Aves had Elam Haba? That their wives were greater than them. The Asad Love, the women are going to be higher than the men. By Sora it says, Koil Ashet Melecha Sora Shma B'Koil. It's like the Rashi. The Avraham was tougher than the Vul of Sora. The Imais were greater than the Aves. That's how it's going to be in Elam Haba. Okay, but that's just the Maimon Amuzga. That's the parenthesis. The point is the Aves experienced Shalva of Kedusha. Usually, you're right, Shalva is a denotation of Klipa, which is why it says in the next line, but there's also Shalva of Kedusha. Like Yankov Avinu, Bikesh Yankov, Leisha B'Shalva means Yankov wanted to have Elam Haba. But if you want Elam Haba, you got to go through more Gehenim. That's why when Yankov Avinu wanted to have Shalva, that's why he had to us with Yosef. In order to get that Shalva, to get the piece of Elam Haba, Yaakov had to go through additional hardships. That's why Rashi says, this is the Rebbe's Nasichas. I didn't make this up. Bikesh Yankov Leisha B'Shalva. Yaakov Avinu wants to have Elam Haba. You want to have Elam Haba? Kafas Adar to Yosef. You always have to go through Yosef at Tzadik's Tzaddis. Do you follow? Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So this Pedic, I think, and like I said, I'll probably change my mind, but I think the key to the Pedic is this pasuk, Vani amarti b'shalvi ba'lemet li'elam. There is Vani amarti b'shalvi ba'lemet li'elam in Klipa. There is Ani amarti b'shalvi ba'lemet li'elam in Kedusha. Okay, and in both cases, in order to get that shalva, there's an Indian from start to Panecha. Hashem hides his face. However that works out, as we'll see in Mitzvah Hashem later on. Okay.
Thank you.
So we learned two things so far, right? Number one, I introduced you to the Kabbalistic interpretation of this Pedic. That's about going from Asiya to Yetzirah. And I told you the difference between how Kabbalah looks at it and how Chassidus looks at it. Now this part is me. Kabbalah says take off the first pasuk, take away the first word of the second pasuk. So you should have 91 words, which is the shame of Yetzirah, because 96 words, 97 words, no good. Asiya is Avodah Zarah. And we dafka say it. As you'll see Mitzvah Hashem in the class I'm going to give you next week. You understand? That's number one. And number two, if it's true, as we're currently assuming, that the most important pasuk in this Pedic is V'niyamati b'shalvi b'lemet lo'olam. This statement is made by Klipa, and it's made by Kedusha, means very different things. But in Klipa, there's a concept of Amati b'shalvi, and in Kedusha, the concept. Okay? Questions or comments?
Yaakov didn't experience like Shalva of Kedusha, like
He did. Vayechi Yankiv. Yankiv, the last 17 years of his life, he did. In Mitzrayim. Vayechi Yankiv Ezem Shvas Shana, the famous Hayom Yom. Vayechi Galept. Yaakov Avinu wanted Elam Haba. It costed him 22 more years of what our Pedic calls Sha'oil and Boyer to get to it. But he had 17 years of Shalva. He had it. Okay, I taught you two things. That's it, just two things. Okay, we're going to break. Let's not make it a long break. Come back in 5. There's one more thing I want to share with you. And this last thing I want to share with you is Chassidus. And this is the psiche. You have to understand. I'm working. I'm always preparing. Every week I prepare a little more. I'm not ready to teach the Pedic inside yet, but I'm close. You understand? I'm close. I hope by next week I'll be able to actually have enough of a sense of this Pedic. I want to teach you this Pedic through a certain prism, through certain glasses. I don't want to teach you through the Kabbalah glasses, which is 91. I want to teach you through Chassidus glasses, which is 96. Not how I'm going from Asiya to Yetzirah, but how we're going to celebrate Asiya. I'm almost ready to do that. So in the next class, I'm going to open that up. I'm going to introduce what Chassidus says about Mizmeh Shir Chanukah Savayis LeDavid, and the mitzvah next week. Hopefully we'll learn it inside. Shall we? Okay, take a break. Please come back.
Я в этом никогда бы не была. Ну, знаешь, 200%. Можно это даже не переживать.